We got from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution by making high school education a requirement. We're now moving from the industrial revolution to the post-industrial revolution, and there is only one way for us to successfully make that leap and maintain social stability, and that is if we make tertiary education, post-secondary education, available to every American who wants it. That is the only way to compete. It's by getting smarter and smarter, not working cheaper and harder.
In the words of the New York Times columnist and best-selling author Thomas Friedman, it isn't actually a shrinking world, it's flattening. The question, he says, is how will America compete in the knowledge economy?
If we're going to try to compete by cutting wages and working harder, we're going to get creamed.
We are no longer the best in the world. We are now beginning to understand that.
In 1985, America's college participation and success rates were the best in the world. But times have changed. The United States has dropped from 1st to 7th place.
When I was growing up in Minnesota in the 1950s, my parents used to say to me, "Tom, finish your dinner. People in China and India are starving." And I tell my girls, finish your homework because people in China and India are starving for your jobs.
Opportunity is no longer bound by geography, but opportunity faces several other barriers in this country. One of the most ominous is the rising cost of college, which is on a collision course with the American dream.
I don't think it's fair that higher education is so expensive at this rate, and it's increasing every year and making it harder and harder, especially on younger students.
I have to work in order to pay for my tuition, and if I want to keep studying, I have to work harder, and the harder I work, the less energy I have I can apply to my studies. Continuing our education is about survival.
In response, Lumina Foundation for Education has embarked on a national initiative. Since the mid-1980s, college costs have climbed 240%, more than 3 times the inflation rate. In late 2005, Lumina Foundation held a national summit to develop solutions to rising college costs in the nation's capital. More than 300 leaders from higher education, business, and policy circles came to discuss the issue and potential solutions. It was a critical first step to launching a response necessary to confront rising costs, which could short-circuit the nation's ability to compete in an ever-shrinking and better-educated world. Thomas Friedman wrote about just that in his book, The World is Flat. His bestseller chronicles the impact of the technology boom on global economic forces.
There is no such thing as an American job. There's just a job. What is new, unique, exciting, and frightening about this era of globalization is the degree to which it empowers and requires you as an individual to globalize yourself and to think of yourself and your kids as competing globally as individuals against other individuals.
Today's jobs are increasingly going to workers educated and living outside of the United States. Consider the growth of outsourcing. Then consider the long-term employment prospects for an American workforce which is paid far above foreign compensation scales, but is undertrained and inadequately educated. Next, consider the path to college, which is growing more costly each year.
It requires an uncommon level of thoughtful leadership to address both the issue of declining subsidy and the issue of rising costs, particularly in terms of personnel costs. So more than ever, a level of collaboration, a level of shared responsibility, unlike we've ever had before in American higher education.
Lumina Foundation will be far from alone as it begins this initiative to make opportunity more affordable for Americans. No one at the summit, however, was under the illusion that a crisis years in the making could be fixed with a silver bullet.
The problem is this is a political, organizational, cultural problem, and we really aren't grappling with that part of it. And if we treat it as a technical problem, we will generate an ever longer list of good ideas which will never be implemented, at least not on the scale to get this done.
In 2002, a Congressional Advisory Committee estimated that each year, nearly 1/2, or about 400,000 qualified high school graduates would be unable to attend a four-year college because of financial barriers. Almost 170,000 would attend no college at all.
I had a number of friends that had to transfer to other institutions or had to take time off from school in order to make money, earn money for a given quarter or semester before they could, continue their college degrees.
I go to school full time. I work 40 or more hours per week. My family is in Mexico, so I have to support myself here. And I do some work in the community.
It is a scandal what is happening in higher education with financial aid. We have seen a huge shift in expenditures on financial aid from need-based financial aid into non-means-tested merit aid.
Students, educators, and political leaders are sounding the same refrain.
About 60% of children from affluent families in America go on to get college degrees. About 7%, single digit, from low-income families in America move on to get college degrees.
The higher income families are able to continue to make higher education a priority for their children. Increasingly, that's not true for middle-income families and specifically for low-income families. So we're creating a society of haves and have-nots, and that will be something we will pay for in the future.
I think probably the more accurate description would be that we risk continuing to expand that already tremendously large underclass. We have that underclass already, and the question becomes how much more expansive would that underclass become?
To meet its goal of making higher education more affordable, the Foundation is working with partners to bring about the following objectives. Increase the productivity of higher education by lowering costs while at the same time raising quality. Reduce time to degree or certificate attainment. Increase access and success among low-income students, first-generation students, adult learners, and students of color.
If we can't address this issue with a sense of shared responsibility and to do it together thoughtfully, ultimately the quality of American higher education will erode. We'll no longer have a leadership position in the world we enjoy today. It will, I think, stretch the fabric of our very democratic society if we can't keep college possible, if we can't continue to have access to quality American higher education. This is incredibly important.